I'm making this video hopefully for the small possibility that Tribute Games might see it, and also for the benefit of dedicated Shredder's Revenge players, as well as my general audience who wants to better understand the issues with throws in this game. The discussion around Shredder's Revenge has been really interesting. It's gotten nearly universal praise from major and small gaming outlets and YouTube channels, some dissenting voices here and there. Here on this channel, I've talked about how much I like it despite it being a shallower experience than my favorite beat-em-up Streets of Rage 4, and I've pointed out issues I have with the game as well as some pretty gross bugs, like rolling forward when you press back and dodge on the flying levels, which I think may be a PC-specific bug. But really the most interesting topic is throws. I've had back and forths with people in the comments section of all my Turtles videos, hearing from people who hate the way throws work, and people saying that throws are fine and that I just don't understand the game. So why do I and some other people think throws are a problem, and what are the possible changes? Throwing in beat-em-ups is a foundational mechanic. They aren't just some animation you can do here and there to be flashy. There's purpose behind them. Using Streets of Rage as my example, throws can be great offensive or defensive options. Why do I, after hundreds of hours in Streets of Rage 4, continue to use throws? Throws can be used to damage groups of enemies by grabbing someone and tossing in their direction. This does decent damage and controls the room. It's especially nice against enemies that charge at you from full screen. They can be used to set up wall bounce combos against bosses. They can be used to reposition a boss to set them up for OTG corner combos. When fighting them mid-screen can really reduce your damage output. I'll start hitting a boss and then grab and throw behind me because I know I can hit harder in the corner. They can be used to sneak in extra damage against a heavy enemy that won't die from a single combo. Or they normally wouldn't launch very high for an air juggle because of their gravity, and your grab option gives you a few extra hits, and some heavy throw enders can do a lot of extra damage at the end. The extra hits from a grab can contribute to regaining your green health after being drained from specials. Several stages have insta-kill hazards that can be triggered from long-distance throws. There's also death pits to eliminate problematic enemies, especially useful on the boxing stage of survival mode. The Condor enemy tends to guard himself, significantly reducing the damage he takes, and if you attack a bunch in this state, he may try to counter you. Grabbing is frequently a great option to open them up, and they have a lot of health, so throwing them into an OTG setup can lead to their death. Goros parry your attacks, but are vulnerable to grabs into OTG setups. Nearly every enemy in the game can be grabbed, regardless of their armor properties, size, or health values. Most importantly, throws give you invincibility frames. Not 100% till the end of the animation, you can still get hit right near the end as you're coming out, but because of the iframes in the beginning and the middle, throws can be used tactically to defend yourself. If you're about to get overwhelmed, quickly grab someone near you and use your throw animation to make the incoming attack pass through you. This doesn't just save you from damage. Since the combo meter plays into a point bonus to gain extra lives, using the iframes can save your combo meter and prevent you from losing that valuable point multiplier. Like I said, you can still get hit near the end of the animation, so you may have to use a life-consuming special attack to ensure you don't get hit. It isn't necessarily a get-out-of-jail-free card. If you go around on high difficulties just grabbing everyone, you're probably gonna get bopped around, and it'll take forever. When it comes down to it, there are good reasons to use grabs. Many good reasons. Grabs are not always your best option. Honestly, in many situations, your standard attacks and specials are technically better options. But we're comparing options that are all varying degrees of good. If I decide to use a throw in Streets of Rage over a combo attack or charge move or special, I can tell you precisely why I did it. The old Turtle arcade games had powerful throws with generous iframes, but many tactics were powerful. There's good reason to use your dash attacks and normal attacks and specials, but it's obvious that the developers didn't want the game to turn into a strike-throw fest, so they nerfed them, just like how the first level has foot soldiers that anti-air you, because they don't want people just jumping around spamming dive kick all day from level 1. It's an understandable concern. I can totally see why they would think throws being really good would lead to uninteresting gameplay, but it has the opposite effect. As a consequence, Shredder's Revenge is in the unfortunate state of having throws that don't offer much in the way of offensive or even defensive options. It's pretty hard to find situations where using a throw is a great idea, and this is for several reasons. Enemies in this game die quickly. Every character's 4-hit attack string will kill most enemies, and you can hit lots of enemies at once, as enemies will gang up on you, so pausing to throw one doesn't provide an advantage. Large enemies and bosses can't be thrown. Crowd control isn't necessary because your charge attack already pushes enemies back, and your running shoulder bash and slide already do a perfect job of controlling enemies around you. High health enemies that guard or evade, like the pink, white, or black foot soldiers, can't be grabbed until you get their health down, and by that time, what's the point? If you could grab any small enemy that's being defensive like you can the shield and blue guys, there would be a reason to do it. Thinking about this more as I'm editing, I think the real culprit here is the fling toss. Fling toss eliminates whoever you throw instantly, so if you could do that against the high tier foot soldiers, they would be trivialized. It makes sense that they don't want you to be able to do that. I'm almost certain the conversation within the studio went like this. Well, we gotta have the fling toss because it's an iconic throw from Turtles in Time, but we have these new high health foot soldiers, and if you can just fling toss them, there's no point in having them. Okay, maybe I guess we make it to where you can't throw them until they take a certain amount of damage. It must have been a controversial topic in development. Unfortunately, it makes it to where you can't throw these enemies in any way when you really should be able to. The only way to fix it would be to make fling toss only usable once a high tier foot soldier has lost some health, and let you do regular throws at any time. It's kind of a crappy solution, but I would highly prefer it over this grab state that does nothing. Especially considering how easy it is to accidentally grab enemies in this game. Not to mention the problem with throws being unresponsive to your input sometimes, leaving you standing there doing nothing. Stage hazards aren't often positioned in ways to make engaging them with throws something that's attractive. And of course, the complete lack of iframes leaves you open to taking multiple hits during a single throw. On hard difficulty, this could lead to you easily taking 4 to even 6 health points of damage. The lack of iframes is the biggest because it single-handedly eliminates throws as a defensive option. It makes it the riskiest thing you can do in the game for what benefit? Throwing isn't a good way to get enemies away from you, or deal with being attacked on both sides, or damage approaching enemies, and you can easily get hit multiple times during the animation. This leaves dodge roll as the only real defensive option, and it makes the gameplay far less interesting. On top of taking damage during throws, if you haven't maxed out your super bar, you lose the entire thing when you get hit. Now, I love that mechanic, I think it encourages good defense. But precisely because of that, it makes throws even less attractive because you can lose your whole super bar just for using these fairly useless throws. So if there aren't good defensive reasons to use them, and there aren't good offensive reasons to use them, why are they here other than the fact that it just wouldn't be right for them to be absent? I think throws can be much more, and I'm gonna submit a few ideas for how to change them. The first thing I suggested was simply giving the iframes. It doesn't have to go all the way to the end, you can still be vulnerable coming out of the animation at some point for balancing purposes, but if you have a nice chunk of iframes in the middle where you don't take damage, throws could be used defensively to protect yourself against an incoming attack. This would be awesome in boss fights. Imagine if in the Rocksteady fight, a bomb is about to go off at your feet. You normally roll or jump away. But what if you could grab a yellow foot soldier next to you and time a throw to pass through the explosion unharmed, avoiding damage and killing an enemy, maybe even being able to hit the other yellow guy or even the boss with his body to do some extra damage while evading the explosion. Instantly, we have a more dynamic boss fight. If the developers feel this would make throws too easy to rely on, you could instead do a damage increase to make them a better offensive option. Right now, you can hit a foot soldier and throw them and they still aren't dead. Why not just combo them quickly and eliminate them? Why hit someone and throw them into someone else when that damage isn't going to kill anyone involved and it could get you hit in the process? Higher damage throws might help. More so than the damage to thrown enemies, I think we need higher damage to enemies who are hit by those you throw. Because I'm sure they have forward and back throw do less damage because that makes fling toss play a more defined role in combat. If you want to kill, you do fling toss. If you want to use the enemy for crowd control, do the other throws. For this reason, I don't think it's a big deal if they don't raise throw damage, but I think they should make the other enemies take more damage from getting hit. Since the defensive aspects of throws are so poor, being able to hit other enemies more heavily by throwing someone into them could begin to justify the risk, especially in boss battles. The damage against enemies hit by throws is so laughably low that you can hit someone with 3 separate throws and they're still alive. I'm just not seeing the point here. The current damage taken by bosses if you throw an enemy into them is pathetic, and it makes you feel like you're wasting your time, especially if you get hit in the process because of no iframes. Another partial solution could be to simply reduce all incoming damage during throws to 1 HP across all difficulties. I don't think this would make throws very good still, but you could at least use the reduced damage to avoid certain heavy attacks and hazards. But I think if they're gonna go that route, maybe they should remove the super penalty during the damage state, because I think even with the damage reduction, losing your 90% complete super meter just because you got hit during a throw is going overboard and makes me want to use them even less. Throws should also work against any normal-sized enemy. Entering a grab state just to be told you can't throw them is annoying and pointless when it should be a great throw incentive. So that's what I think can be done. Choose between good iframes for defense, higher damage for offense, or a damage reduction and super bar immunity. I think something can be done about it because I like this game a lot, but at this point the gameplay is already feeling pretty stale to me. Without a point-driven combo system, without good balance in multiplayer, and without the ability to disable meditation in arcade mode, Shredder's Revenge, for as awesome as it is and as fun as it can be, is becoming far too narrow of an experience, and I think an adjustment to throws could be just what the doctor ordered. I think it could make higher play more dynamic while keeping casual play as freeform and fun as it currently is. I hope these positive suggestions have at least been interesting for discussion. If something is done to throws that I didn't suggest here, that's fine, I just want to see some kind of innovation brought to the combat. Thanks for watching.